Abandoned son discovers incredible strength 18 years later exposes father's empire of lies. Jake sat in his room, the walls peeling like the dreams of his dusty Midwestern town. Each year, the setting sun cast longer shadows, a constant reminder of the absence that shaped his life. Graduation loomed ahead, but instead of excitement, an uncomfortable weight pressed down on him. His mother worked tirelessly at the local diner, her weary hands smoothing over the same countertop she'd polished for decades. She smiled and served pancakes, but Jake knew the truth, the struggles behind that smile, the echoes of heartache she fought against daily. He often wondered about his father. Why did he leave? The unanswered questions clawed at his chest like a wild animal. The classmates around him joked about college plans and future dreams, oblivious to the burdens he carried. He longed for belonging but felt like a ghost slipping through their joyful laughter. He was a young man on the precipice of adulthood, yet shackled by abandonment. Everything changed on that rainy afternoon. News spread like wildfire through the town. Mr. Thompson, the old neighbor who always had a smile and a cookie to share, had passed away. To Jake, losing Mr. Thompson felt like losing a piece of family. His mother took the news hard, weeping quietly as she cleaned the diner. That night, under the dim light of his room, Jake rummaged through the boxes Mr. Thompson had left. As he sifted through dusty mementos, his fingers brushed against something solid, a wooden box. The letters inside unfolded a story that Jake had never expected. They revealed his father not as just a man who walked away but as a man steeped in deception and greed, a ghost who had built an empire under the guise of family. Each word felt like a punch to the gut. Profits made off the struggles of their own neighbors. His heart raced. The betrayal stung deeper than anything. His father had exploited the very people who stood by his mother during their hardest times. He felt torn, as if the ground beneath him was giving way. The lessons of resilience his mother taught him collided with the painful truths hidden in those letters. How could he reconcile the man who had abandoned him with the woman who had given everything for him? The diner felt heavy that night. The flickering neon light outside seemed to flash a warning as he watched his mother wipe away tears. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The weight of his discovery simmered within him, igniting a fire of revolt against the injustices his father had caused. He couldn't merely stand by. The flicker of responsibility burned brighter than his anger. With each passing hour, he made a decision. He had to confront the legacy left behind, both to honor his mother and to challenge the hurt buried deep in his roots. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jake stood at the crossroads of anger and hope. The truth was like a knife, a painful reminder of what he had lost, but also a tool for change. Jake needed clarity. He needed to rise above the shadows of his father's empire. Just as he gathered courage to take action, a message pinged on his phone. It was alarming and felt like a dark cloud descending over his newfound strength. His father's past wasn't as buried as he thought. As he read it, every instinct in him urged to break into a run, to scream, to fight. Jake took a deep breath. What was the price of justice? What legacy was he ready to embrace as he stood on the edge of his destiny? The shadows held their breath, waiting for him to step forward. Jake stared at the screen, his heart pounding in rhythm with the surfacing fears in his mind. The message sent chills down his spine. It was from an unknown number, but the content felt eerily familiar. I know about your father. It's not over yet. Panic flooded him. The air in the room felt thick with unspoken truths, the dust from forgotten memories swirling around him. He had hoped the revelations would somehow be a conclusion, a way to close the door on the pain that had haunted him. Instead, it opened another, darker corridor that smelled of betrayal and unresolved conflict. Seconds stretched into agonizing moments as he weighed his options. Was he ready to chase shadows that might lead him to the heart of his father's empire, which now felt more like a code to unravel than a heritage to claim? Gripping the phone tightly, he inhaled sharply. The weight of the letters nestled under his bed felt heavier now. They weren't just words. They were a charge, a spark that ignited something deep within his soul, something that refused to be silenced. Anger surged through him, fueling his determination to uncover every hidden truth, every secret that had eroded the foundations of his family. He remembered Mr. Thompson and the way he'd always advocated for justice, never turning his back on anyone. That shaped the man Jake wanted to become. He needed to figure out what his father was still hiding, and who this mysterious person was that had reached out to him. It was time to face the looming shadows of his past head-on. Jake put on his jacket, the cool fabric grounding him as he stepped into the night. He found himself wandering the streets, his mind racing faster than his legs could carry him. The familiar sights of his hometown felt alien now, as if he were seeing everything through new eyes. He could sense the stories hiding behind each door, smiles masking struggles just like his mother's. The scent of rain-soaked asphalt hung in the air, mixing with the nostalgic taste of the past. His phone buzzed again, snapping him from his thoughts. A link this time directed to a video. Hesitant but intrigued, he clicked it. The screen lit up with a shaky recording of an elderly man. "Your father is not who you think he is. The connections he has, the people he has hurting, it goes deeper than you've been told." Jake felt his stomach drop. The more he listened, the more pieces started to fit, spinning a web of deception that made his skin crawl. It was overwhelming, the notion that his father had built not just a life, but a twisted legacy of manipulation and pain. Yet, amid the rising storm within him, a flicker of resolve ignited. This was bigger than him now. It was about all the lives that had been touched and disrupted by his father's choices. He couldn't allow this cycle to continue unchallenged. As the video concluded, a name slipped from the old man's lips: Mary Williams. It rang a bell like a haunting melody he'd heard in passing. His mind raced, scanning through his memories. Could she tie everything together? Before he could think twice, he set his sights on finding her. The questions churned inside him like a storm waiting to break free. Would this woman hold the key to his father's empire of lies? With every step he took, the reality of confronting his father grew closer. And as the whispers of the night enveloped him, Jake realized the journey ahead would uncover not just his father's dark past but also reveal what it truly meant to be a son in a world built on foundations of lies. He had no idea what he would find, but one thing was certain: it was time to embark on this quest for the truth, even if it meant stepping into the dark. What was waiting at the end of this path could either shatter him or set him free. The streetlights flickered dimly as Jake's resolve hardened. He didn't know where he was going, but the name Mary Williams echoed in his mind like a drumbeat, urging him forward. It was late, but the city had a pulse, people wrapped in their own stories, their own struggles. He felt like an outsider, yet his urgency connected him to everyone around him. He hurried his pace. Each step pulled him deeper into a whirlwind of emotions: fear, guilt, and an ember of hope. As he rounded a corner, a small diner caught his eye. Neon lights flickered, casting a warm glow over tired faces inside. His stomach growled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since lunch, but food felt trivial compared to the mission at hand. He pressed on, the questions swirling in his mind, the video replayed in his thoughts, forming a gnawing knot in his stomach. "Your father is not who you think he is," the words taunted him, unsettled pieces of his childhood mingling with the realization that his father might truly be an architect of deceit. The risk of loss, a loss of what he thought was the truth, loomed heavy. Was Mary Williams the answer to what he feared? As he walked, he reached for his phone. The video had left him with more than just questions, it had imbued him with adrenaline. He dived into a search engine, hoping to pull up any traces of her. After a few taps on the screen, he found an address, a small place on the outskirts of town that remained tethered to his memories, like a thread unspooling. He had seen it during his childhood, a place he had always been curious about. But Mary Williams was more than an old house in his mind. She might be the bridge between his father and the turmoil he feared. He inhaled deeply. The air was drenched in lavender and rain. Each breath filled him with steely determination. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. Each lie his family buried had the potential to shake the very foundation of lives he'd never known. Great oaks lined the road leading to the address. As he approached the place, he felt the silence pressing down around him, like the calm before a storm. The house stood modest but resolute, its paint faded by time, much like the memories tucked away at the back of his mind. Jake's heart raced. He hesitated at the front door, the years of confused abandonment starkly clear now. Did Mary hold the last scraps of his father as truth? Gathering courage, he knocked. Each rattle of his knuckles echoed like thunder in his chest. He had taken the first step. Moments passed like an eternity before the door creaked open, revealing an elderly woman with kind eyes that shimmered with stories untold. Her gaze settled on him, piercing yet gentle. "Who might you be?" she asked, that voice a soft breeze among his storm of emotions. "Jake," he started, but faltered, unsure if she remembered the little boy he once was. "I'm looking for Mary Williams." I think you know my father." Her eyes narrowed slightly, suspicion mingling with recognition. "Your father?" As the words left his mouth, Jake felt a weight lift, yet a distinct realization washed over him. This was just the beginning, the heartbeat of a journey filled with unexpected turns. He could feel the tension crackling in the air, and the past threatening to collide with the present. With her response hanging in the air, he wondered if he was ready for what would follow. What pieces would she reveal? What truths would shatter everything he thought he knew? "Why do you want to know?" she asked, her voice steady like a ship in rough waters. The question struck deep within him, an anchor in the storm. "Because I need to understand who he really is." And in that moment, Jake understood that confronting his father wouldn't just test his courage, it would redefine who he was meant to be. As he awaited her response, the shadows of his family's past loomed larger, promising revelations that would either save him or bury him whole. He could feel the edge of a cliff beneath him. Would he take that leap? Jake held his breath, the air thick with anticipation. The silence stretched between them, and for a moment, the world faded away. It felt as if the walls were closing in, a cacophony of voices from a past he wasn't ready to confront. Then, as if pulled from a distant memory, Mary Williams spoke again. "There was a time when your father came to me," she said, her voice a blend of light and shadow. "He was a troubled man, lost in his own darkness." Jake's heart raced. Why had his father visited her? The thought opened a door to secrets he didn't know existed. "Why did he come to you?" Jake asked, urgency igniting his voice. "What did he want?" Mary hesitated, her gaze drifting beyond him, to a time that felt like a different universe altogether. "He was seeking redemption, or maybe just someone to believe in him." "Your father, he was searching for something." "Seeking something." The words lingered in the air, striking a chord in Jake's heart. It dawned on him that maybe his father wasn't just a villain, but a man haunted by his own failures. The idea complicated everything, but didn't quell his anger. "What does that mean for me?" Jake pressed, his voice rising, desperate for clarity. "Truth can be a double-edged sword," she replied softly, pulling the memory closer. "The truth your father feared, or the one he tried to protect you from, it's woven tightly into the fabric of his life. And now, it's woven into yours." He felt the weight of her words settle deep within him, the storm inside him swirling still. "Tell me what you know," he urged, barely able to contain the intensity coursing through him. "Please." Mary stepped back, motioning for him to enter the small house. "Come inside. I have something that may help you understand." Stepping into her home was like entering a world of forgotten tales. The walls were lined with photographs that captured decades of life, laughter, love, and loss spilling from every frame. Yet in that warmth, he felt cold uncertainty. If he didn't like the answers, could he live with the truth? Mary motioned to a worn armchair, and as he sat down, she disappeared into another room. The minutes stretched as Jake absorbed the surroundings, feeling his heart thrum against the restrictive band of anxiety. When she returned, she was holding a small, worn box, its edges frayed yet oddly inviting. "This was your father's," she said, placing it on the table between them. "He kept it hidden as if it held pieces of himself he couldn't bear to confront." The box felt heavy with years of secrets, and Jake stared at it, his breath hitching. What could possibly be inside? Memories? Regrets? Buried truths? "Open it," Mary urged, her voice filled with gentle encouragement mixed with an undertone of caution. He reached for the box, his fingers trembling. The moment of truth hung over him like a loaded weapon. Would he be brave enough to unearth the legacy of lies? As he lifted the lid, the scent of aged paper wafted over him, and his heart pounded louder. Nestled inside were letters, photographs, and a few small trinkets. Each item held a story waiting to emerge from a past shrouded in shadows to a future yet unwritten. Jake knew this was the moment he had been waiting for. No turning back now. Would he find the answers he so desperately sought, or would the truth be more damaging than he could bear? "Here goes nothing," he whispered to himself, bracing for what lay ahead. With the first letter unfolding before him, he realized the leap he had taken wasn't just into memories, but into a labyrinth of his father's heart. Would it guide him home or lead him astray? As he began to read, a darker question loomed: what if the truth was something he couldn't bear? Jake stared at the first letter, the ink faded yet still legible. His hands trembled as he unfolded it, revealing a message meant for someone else. The scrawl was shaky, like a man writing in a hurry, a man desperate to share his burden. "Dear Mary," it began. "I don't know how to say what I need to say. I've made terrible mistakes." His heart raced. Mistakes. The word echoed off the walls of his mind. A million questions flooded in. What kind of mistakes? How deep did they go? He read on, each word striking like a hammer. "I turned my back on those who loved me. I thought I could bury the past and move on, but it haunts me. I need to make it right. I need to find a way back." Jake swallowed hard. The man behind those words was his father, yet it felt like a stranger. This was not the man he had been raised to fear. This was a man seeking forgiveness, grappling with guilt and shame. His emotions tangled together: anger, confusion, pity. What did he do? Jake whispered aloud, the emptiness of the room responding in silence. He pushed the letter aside, his fingers shaking as he reached for another item. A photograph slipped out, its surface worn and yellowed. He picked it up and held it close. There it was, a younger version of his father, standing beside a smiling woman, her laughter captured in a fleeting moment. Jake felt a tug at his heart. Who was she? A ghost from a life long forgotten? But Mary's voice sliced through his thoughts. Your father loved her, and it cost him dearly. Jake looked up, meeting her gaze. The weight of her words pressed against him, urging him to confront the darkness that lurked in every corner of the box. Tell me more, he demanded, his heart pounding. This journey was becoming harder, yet he couldn't turn back now. Mary took a deep breath. Your father was never just a man of darkness. He was lost in a web of his own making. The choices he made spiraled out of control. As she spoke, Jake sifted through the box, finding more letters, each one another piece of the puzzle. The stories twisted like vines: betrayal, courage, love, and heartbreak intricately woven together. One letter sent chills down his spine. My son will never forgive me, it read. There was a stark honesty in those words, a layer of fear that was so real. Did his father fear him? Your father didn't just let you down, he was scared. Scared of you finding out the truth, Mary clarified, her eyes softening. But he never stopped thinking about you, Jake. You were always his hope, the reason he sought redemption. That word again, redemption. It pulsed inside him, igniting something deep and buried, something he didn't want to acknowledge. Could redemption exist for someone who had hurt others so deeply? This isn't just about him, is it? Jake stated, more to himself than to her. It's about the man I've become. Can I forgive him? Mary nodded slowly, her sympathy palpable. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. It's something you give yourself as much as it is for others. Jake felt the truth of her words seep into him, but the question still lingered: could he really carry the weight of his father's sins along with his own? Anguish twisted in him, a storm steadily building. He needed answers, and he needed them fast. What if this was just the beginning of a far greater unveiling? Just as he was about to reach for another letter, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, breaking the tense moment. It startled him, and instinctively he jumped up. "Mary!" he called, anxiety rippling through him. "What was that?" she demanded, rushing toward the sound. Jake's heart raced as he followed, the box trembling in his hands. What if this chaos outside, mirroring the turmoil within him, sabotaged everything he was trying to understand? They burst into the kitchen, where they found an old vase shattered on the floor, pieces scattered like broken dreams. In that instant, Jake couldn't shake the feeling not just of frayed porcelain, but of his own fractured relationship with his father. What was going to crash next? Was he ready to face it all? While shadows loomed closer, Jake took a deep breath, the truth still waiting in the depths of the box. All he had to do was step forward, but the real question remained: would he? Jake stood frozen, staring at the shattered pieces of the vase, the echoes of its breakage ringing in his ears. A sense of dread clung to him as he knelt to pick up a jagged shard. Its sharp edge felt like a reflection of his own life, fractured and splintered, yet still possessing the potential to cut deep. "Jake!" Mary called gently, her voice pulling him from the whirlpool of his thoughts. She approached slowly, her eyes scanning the mess but also focused on him. "Are you okay?" He nodded, though he couldn't hide the turmoil within. "Just thinking." What was there to say when words felt so inadequate to describe the tangled emotions surrounding his father's legacy? Mary crouched beside him, picking up a larger piece of the vase. "This was beautiful once, just like memories. Sometimes, when they're broken, it's hard to imagine they were ever whole." Jake swallowed, the weight of her words sinking in. Memories. That's what this box was, filled with pieces of a past he hadn't wanted to confront. But now, pieces of trust, love, and betrayal stared back at him through these letters and photographs. He thought he could just walk away from everything. Walk away from us. Her gaze softened. Maybe he thought running was the only way to save you both from the hurt. But is running really saving someone? Jake asked, anger bubbling within him. "It feels more like abandonment to me." "I understand. But you have a choice, Jake. You don't have to carry his mistakes." He looked away, the whirlwind inside him intensifying. "Can you really forgive someone who hurt you so deeply? Who left without looking back?" Mary hesitated, then placed a hand on his shoulder. "Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a journey, like I said earlier. Sometimes it starts with understanding why someone made the choices they did." Jake's heart pounded. He felt torn between wanting to delve into those letters and run away from it all. Could he unearth the truth buried inside without losing himself? "I can't escape his choices," he said, his voice low. "But you can control how they affect you. That's your power," she encouraged, pulling him back to the moment. He clenched the shard tightly, the cool, hard surface grounding him. "You said he was scared. Scared of me knowing the truth. What if he was scared of facing himself too? Maybe I'm scared too." The admission slipped out, pulling a gasp from Mary. "That's a brave realization. But fear can be faced, and it can be conquered." "Face it?" He laughed bitterly. "You expect me to just dive into this mess he created? Not all at once. Take it piece by piece. You've already started by looking in this box. Maybe there's more to find." "Like what? More pain?" He pinched the edge of the shard, letting the sharpness remind him of something he needed to feel. "Or more understanding," she replied firmly. "More reasons to empathize with him. You might find something that could help you heal." The jumbled words swirled through him. Healing. How could he start to heal when the wounds felt fresh? But the weight of truth loomed over him. He could feel it building, slowly like a gathering storm. Mary reached for another letter, carefully unfolding it. "Let's see what else he tried to say." Her fingers brushed against the aged paper, and Jake's heart raced. Would he find anger again, or, perhaps, something softer, something that might change the way he felt about his father? As she read the next words aloud, quieting the storm in his mind, Jake leaned in closer. Each letter pulled him further into his father's life, and he sensed the ground shifting beneath him. What if this journey didn't just reveal his father's truth but also unveiled his own? In that moment, a flicker of determination ignited within him. Jake squeezed the shard in his hand, a silent vow forming. No matter how uncomfortable, he would face the truth. There was no retreating from it now. "What's next?" he asked, eyes locking onto Mary's. But before she could answer, the phone rang, slicing through the tension in the room. The shrill sound stopped both of them cold. "Who could that be?" she asked, her brow furrowing. Jake felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. Was it a call about the past, a new revelation? Or something he wasn't ready to face? As he reached for the phone, his heart thudded in his chest. His life was about to change again. Would he be ready for it? The moment lingered, a breath before the plunge. Jake's hand trembled slightly as he gripped the phone receiver. The tension hung thick in the air, almost suffocating in its intensity. He hesitated, glancing at Mary, her expression mirroring his dread. Was it news of his father? An apology he'd never get? "Hello?" he finally managed, his voice steadying as he swallowed the knot in his throat. "Jake?" The voice on the other end was unfamiliar yet strikingly authoritative. It sent chills racing down his spine. "This is Mr. Thompson, your father's attorney." Jake's heart sank. Everything he'd been avoiding, everything he wasn't ready to face came rushing to the forefront. "What do you want?" he asked, though his tone dripped with apprehension. "I have some important matters to discuss regarding your father's estate and his recent passing." The words struck him like a physical blow. "What? My father passed?" The statement felt surreal. Anger and confusion twisted together in his gut. The last he heard, his father was alive and well, living like a phantom in his dark memories. "I understand this is unexpected. I can assure you there's a lot that needs your attention," Thompson continued, voice steady but with a hint of empathy. "Why now?" Jake felt a surge of emotion. What about everything he left behind? "All those years he just..." "Jake," Thompson interjected, "I believe he intended for you to know the truth. He left several letters, intended specifically for you." Those words hung in the air like a fragile gossamer thread, promising answers yet binding him to a past he wasn't ready to unravel. "What truth?" he asked, battling mixed feelings of hope and fear. "Please, why don't we meet?" "There's much to discuss," the attorney urged. Jake looked towards Mary, silently seeking her support. She gave him a subtle nod, encouraging yet cautious. Would this meeting unveil the storm of emotions he felt brewing inside, or merely deepen the chaos? After a long pause, he took a deep breath. "Okay. When?" "Tomorrow at 2. Here in town at my office," the attorney replied. "Fine." He hung up, the phone slipping from his fingers. The reality hit him like a wave, cold and overpowering. Hadn't he just vowed to face the truth? Mary's hand found his arm, steadying him. "Are you all right?" He shook his head, emotions threatening to spill over. "Not really. I don't want to drown in this. I barely know what to expect." "What if it's worse?" "Jake, you won't be going in alone," she reassured him. "You have to face it, but you also have support. This is your chance to make sense of your father's choices. But what if the truth shatters what little I have left? What if he was just a monster?" Jake's voice cracked, reflecting the turmoil of feeling abandoned. "Maybe it'll be a different picture altogether," Mary insisted gently. "You might find pieces that fit together the why behind it all. But you need to be brave." Jake met her gaze. Was he brave? He didn't feel like it. "And what if bravery is just pain with a different name?" he asked bitterly. "This isn't just about him," she countered, her eyes fierce. "It's about you finding your own peace, your own truth. If you let fear stop you, it's him who wins." Her words hit hard. The idea of being shackled by his father's choices felt unbearable. So many emotions tangled in his chest: fear of facing the man who left, and the unexpected yearning for understanding. "Okay," he muttered, his voice almost a whisper. "I'll do it. But I don't know if I can handle what comes next." He picked up the shard of the broken vase again, feeling its sharp edge. With determination edging out his uncertainty, he resolved that this time, he wouldn't shy away from the truth. But as thoughts swirled in his mind, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something darker was waiting in those letters, a secret that could change everything. With one last glance at the box, he wondered what pieces of truth lay buried within. Tomorrow would come too soon, and with it, the confrontation of a legacy he'd been trying to escape. What was his father hiding, and would Jake emerge from this unscathed? The sun peeked through the curtains, spilling golden light into the room, marking a new day, a day that felt heavy with impending revelations. As Jake lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, Mary's quiet breathing next to him provided a sense of comfort, yet the weight of the upcoming meeting loomed large. "Are you ready?" Mary's voice broke through the stillness, a gentle reminder that time was slipping away. Jake turned to her, the warmth of her presence grounding him momentarily. "Ready?" "Not even close," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. His heart raced as he thought of the letters, of the truths that might surface. She reached out and squeezed his hand. "Whatever you find out today, you face it together." Her support anchored him. Murmurs of doubt still crept in, whispering fears of his father's ghost haunting him further. What had the man really been? How much pain was embedded in those letters? After a quick shower to shake off the nerves, Jake dressed in a simple shirt and jeans, his reflection in the mirror a reminder of the man he was and the son he wished to be for himself, for Mary. When they stepped out of the cool morning air into the warmth of the day, everything felt charged, alive with potential. The drive to Mr. Thompson's office was quiet, filled with unspoken thoughts. It was a short trip that felt endless. Each stoplight flickering red seemed to echo Jake's struggling heart, as he braced himself against the inevitable confrontation. Mary noticed his tension and kept a steady hand on his knee, her presence a lighthouse guiding him through the storm within. When they arrived, the building loomed before them, ordinary yet imposing. Jake hesitated at the entrance. All his life, he'd avoided anything connecting him to his father. The very thought of stepping in here ignited old memories he didn't want to relive. "Just think about the answers," Mary said softly, leaning closer. "You're not just unearthing the past. You're carving out your future." Nodding slowly, Jake pushed the door open, the sudden rush of air signaling the start of a journey he had long dreaded. The reception area was warm, painted in neutral tones, filled with soft murmurs of conversations. A framed picture of a sunlit beach hung above a small table, a reminder that peace could exist even in chaos. "Jake?" The voice of Mr. Thompson cut through his thoughts, firm yet inviting. The attorney stood up, his face expressionless but kind. "Thank you for coming. Please follow me." As they walked down the hallway, each step felt heavier than the last. Thompson led them into a modest conference room, a long table occupying the center, surrounded by chairs that seemed to beckon them into the unknown. "Sit," Thompson instructed, as he settled into a chair opposite them. With a stack of envelopes neatly placed before him, there was an air of gravity in the room that twisted Jake's stomach. "Your father's letters," Thompson began, his tone deliberate. "He wanted you to read these in order. They're dated, and they contain, well, a lot. I think starting at the beginning is best." Jake's breath hitched, his pulse quickening. He glanced at Mary, then back at the stack of letters like a puzzle box filled with jagged pieces. How could anything written in these papers convey all those years of silence, of hurt? "Are you ready?" Thompson asked, studying Jake closely, as if reading the storm brewing behind his calm facade. Taking a shaky breath, Jake nodded. It was time to face the truth, whatever form it took. With each letter he would unfold, he knew he wouldn't just uncover his father's stories, but also parts of himself he'd locked away. As Thompson slid the first envelope toward him, a shiver ran through Jake. He hesitated, his thoughts racing. Perhaps buried within these letters lay the key to his past, a past he had never fully understood. Jake? Mary's voice was a beacon in the tumultuous sea of his thoughts. You can do this. He picked up the first letter, fingers trembling as he tore it open. What awaited him on the other side? Would this truly lead to healing, or would it deepen the wounds he had fought so hard to forget? As he began to read, all eyes in the room focused on him, the air electric with anticipation. What secrets would unravel from the pages? Would they simply be echoes of his father's shame, or would they illuminate a new path forward? One thing was certain: the truth would come at a cost, and Jake was about to discover just how high that cost could be. The letter whispered secrets from the past, the ink blurred but the words sharp and clear. Jake could feel his heart thundering in his chest as he read the first few lines. He wished he could picture his father, the man who'd left him nothing but confusion and pain. Instead, he saw a stranger. Dear Jake, it began, simple yet heavy. The familiarity of those two words tugged at his heart. If you're reading this, then I'm no longer here. A chasm opened within him, reminding him of the absence that had filled his entire life. With each sentence, Jake grappled with anger and grief, battling the urge to shove the letter away. What claim did this man have on his life now? He glanced at Mary, whose concerned expression mirrored his turmoil. She leaned closer, her presence a grounding force as he forged ahead. I've made mistakes, the letter continued, the kind that haunt you in ways I can't explain. But I want you to know I've loved you always. Jake swallowed hard. Was this supposed to be an apology? Or was it more like a lifeline thrown into the stormy sea of his emotions? Your mother, she was the love of my life, he read next, and a wave of bitterness washed over him. The notion of love felt foreign when it had never come with the warmth or security that such words promised. He resisted the urge to rip the paper in half. She deserved better than what I gave her, the letter continued, and you deserved to know the truth about who I was. There it was, the truth, that elusive promise that came with the weight of countless years. Jake felt the fraying threads of his composure begin to unravel. With trembling hands, he fought to keep reading, almost desperate for clarity. Your father, the letter revealed, was involved in things you cannot begin to imagine. Dangerous things. I've shielded you from them for years, but the shadows loom too large to ignore. I fear it's too late for me. But for you? You must be strong, Jake. Stronger than I could ever be. The words slid through his mind like ice. Danger? Shadows? His father had orchestrated a life full of secrecy, and Jake was nothing but a pawn in it all. How could he reconcile that? Find out the truth, son. You have a life waiting ahead of you. Don't let my mistakes define your future. Jake's heart raced. He could feel the weight of 100 questions pressing against his chest. Each one a fragment of a family he never had, a past shadowed in darkness. As he finished the letter, Thompson's gaze urged him to look up. Mary's fingers brushed his clenched hand, her touch a reminder that hope still lingered. But what did this hope mean when built upon foundations of lies? Jake, how do you feel? Thompson asked with a somber intensity, as if he were expecting the world to collapse. Digging deep, Jake struggled to answer. Anger wrestled with disbelief, but underlying it all was a flicker of resilience. I need to see the next one, he managed to say, voice nearly a whisper. What else could he possibly say? Mary leaned closer, her eyes filled with unyielding support. You're doing this, she reminded him gently. Each letter is a step towards clarity. Think about the future. Another push forward. He mustered his strength and reached for the second envelope, heart pounding petrifyingly. What other revelations awaited him in the next letter? Would it open more wounds, or perhaps show him the path to healing he had yearned for all his life? With shaky hands, Jake picked up the second envelope, the weight of it feeling heavier than the first. He drew in a breath, the air thick with a mix of hope and dread. The second letter promised to reveal more of his father's life than he'd ever understood. He tore the envelope open, the crinkling sound echoing in the silent room like a drumroll heralding unexpected revelations. As he unfolded the letter, a cool breeze seemed to seep through the window, chilling the very fiber of his being. Dear Jake, it began again, the familiarity both comforting and painful. If you are reading this, it means I couldn't change the course of my life. Each word felt like a punch. Hearing his father's struggles echoed back at him, framed by regret and yearning. I was once filled with ambition and dreams that twisted into a nightmare. I wanted to build an empire, thinking it could protect you. What I didn't realize was that I was only building a wall between us. Jake's heart thudded. The empire his father mentioned felt like a shackle wrapped around his throat. With every stroke of ink, his father's truth unraveled, revealing the cost of a dream that had never been about family, only power and status. My decisions led to pain, not only for you and your mother but for so many others. Things spiraled out of control until I was buried under the weight of my own greed. The confession loomed in the air, devastating in its simplicity. Jake felt a swell of conflicting emotions rise within him. Could he mourn a father he hardly knew yet still yearned for? My absence, Jake, created a void I regret deeply, the letter continued. I often think of the boy who sat in our yard, playing without a care. I took that from you, and for that my heart aches. Tears stung Jake's eyes, his father's words carving through the years of silence and resentment like a knife. It was hard to fathom that beneath that wall of bravado, a man still yearned to be a father, even in the face of his inadequacies. Please understand, my choices weren't about you. They were about me trying to escape. But you are stronger. You must understand that the choices you make define who you are, not your father's legacy. Jake paused. Strength. It echoed back at him, a lifeline, a glimmer of change. His father believed in him, despite everything. But could he stand on that belief when it felt like a fragile thread between disappointment and anger? Thompson's expectant gaze urged him on. What now, Jake? He asked softly, a quiet acknowledgement of the storm brewing in the room. I want to read the next letter, Jake replied, his voice breaking slightly. This journey into the heart of his father's truths could lead to something deeper than pain, healing, perhaps a newfound resolve. As he reached for the third envelope, his fingers tingled with anticipation. Would this letter craft the bridge between his father's mistakes and his own choices? Would it shift the course of his future? He tore it open with a fierce determination, each letter and each revelation stacking up like pieces of a puzzle that could finally shed light on who he was meant to be. The aftermath of what he discovered left him feeling vulnerable yet empowered. It was okay to hurt. Healing didn't come from denying pain but embracing it. Jake, I know this is hard, but you're doing incredible work, Mary whispered, a warm weight anchoring him in the moment. He took another breath, grounding himself before diving into the next letter. The promise of understanding pulled him deeper into the fray. The truth about his father's legacy was not just a damning account, but a chance for Jake to reclaim his identity, intertwined with pieces of redemption. He could feel it then, the winds of change swirling around him, stirring hope for a future untethered from the dark past, ready to manifest under his command. The golden sunlight streaming through the office window illuminated not just the space but his spirit. This was his moment to transcend. The remaining letters promised a journey, a rocky one filled with revelations, heartache, and perhaps a way forward. But Jake was ready, finally ready, to take those next steps, no longer a prisoner of his father's choices. With each unfolding revelation, he would not just uncover the past. He'd forge a future that was authentically his own. As Jake began to read with the world painted in shades of hope around him, devoid of his father's specter yet reverberating with understanding, he realized it was possible. The ache in his heart transformed into strength, paving the way for healing, clarity, and ultimately, forgiveness. Not just for his father, but for himself. Today marked not the end, but the rebirth, his journey just beginning. So if you're feeling this transformation even in your heart, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find this journey. Comment below your thoughts and reactions. And don't miss this chance to share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second.